I know what you're thinking, punks. Question is, what show am I listening to with Wolverine on it? Well, bub, you're listening to Dystopia Tonight with John Poveromo, the best there is at what he does, bub.
Dystopia Tonight. Dystopia Tonight.
Hey everyone, welcome to Dystopia Tonight. I'm your host, John Poveromo, and I am in my complete nerd glory here because my guest tonight is the legendary voice actor Cal Dodd, who, in my opinion, and I'm sure many other people's opinions, has shaped the character of Wolverine as much as the original creators, the writers who were involved with it. If you think of Wolverine, you're initially thinking of Cal Dodd's legendary voice. Among other, you've done a ton of other voice acting work, but I mean, that's probably your most iconic character more than anything else. I assume you would agree. It's like,
oh God, I agree totally.
yeah. But do you feel that though? Because like for me, and especially my generation, like my friends and I, like there is no other voice actor that compares to that character. Every time I read an X-Men comic book or even see Wolverine, your voice is in my head. Every impression of Wolverine that any of us do is your voice. And I think to even, and I'm not this, this is one of those things where like I'm not disparaging other voice actors because I love everybody's work individual, whatever. But to me, I just think that this is one of those cases where the voice is so good and so iconic that everyone just winds up doing or trying to do you.
Yes, and that I have, John, I've heard that. Excuse me, as you know, well, you don't know. I'm telling you, many times at all these thousands of Comic Cons that I've been doing for the last 2 months, and that's inevitably they all say that when I read the comic books, it's your voice that's in my head.
Yeah.
When I read the Wolverine's lines.
Yeah. And
which means that they owe me a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Yes, we all. I mean, I've been saving up. I put a Wolverine buck in a jar every time I do a hey bub or anything like that when I'm doing it. You know what's funny too is my the producer, I think the guy you've been kind of communicating with or whatever, he called me and he's like, hey, let me know that you were going to do the show. And he said, hey bub in the email, and he's an older dude. So I was like, yes. I'm like, you got a hey bub from him? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is awesome. So he was just like, yeah, no, I knew it meant something. And I was like, you're old.
But, no, and that they say so many, and it's just, I just feel so not sorry for them because they are so sincere,
yeah,
and so shell shocked. They're in front of my table and talking to me, and they really don't know what to say. But what you just said,
mm-hmm.
And they say, could you just say my name and could you just call me Bub? Listen, I'll do a hell of a lot more than that for you.
That's great.
I'll actually put a line in that he says from the show, from the animated series with a Bub in it.
Beautiful.
So they just want to hear it. So it's weird. Could you just say Bub?
Yeah.
Well, I could, but it seems a bit weird.
Yeah. And the craziest thing is too, is like, I've seen you like in other stuff, obviously in other interviews and like at the Comic Cons and stuff. But you really do have the essence of, I mean, you're from Canada, you know what I mean? Like the characters from Canada, you do have the kind of attitude and timing, like all of the things that kind of come together. So, well, I don't know if you feel like when you got the original script or maybe the whole thing of like, hey, would you voice this character? Did it seem like it was like, oh my God, these things are kind of aligning?
And the writers said that too, Eric and Julia Leewald. Eric said that when they were putting it all together, he said it was weird that we ended up in Canada. And number one, and he said it just seemed everything just went like it was meant to be. Everything just kind of went bing, like landed like that, because I had never done a voice in my life. Never done a voiceover.
Wow.
I mean, I was all my life I was doing impersonations. I realized I could make my dad laugh, so I would impersonate all kinds of people.
Nice.
But I was a singer. It was all singing about jingles and studio singers, and I had a band, a tour with Joe Cocker.
Oh,
It was
incredible.
just music was my life. Period.
Mhm.
Not a question. And when this just came out of the blue, and because I had done impersonations, doing commercials, actually, Mr. Tom Waits told the people, whoever did, I did the commercial for a beer, Molson Canadian in Canada,
Right.
and within 2 days, he was on the phone saying, "I do not want anyone imitating doing my voice to promote a beer. I'm not into that kind of stuff. You know,
Yeah.
what are they building in there?" Like so that. But I did those kind of voices, and Michael McDonald and Ray Charles.
Wow.
So anything with gravel in it, I would do that.
Right.
So this Karen Gura, who is the voice, who is hired to do the casting,
Mhm.
she called me because she knew me, and I had done a commercial for Chrysler Company, etc. And I was like a sergeant, the drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Who's got 4x4s? You know, and the other guys would answer. There's other 5 other guys.
Right.
Chrysler's got the 4x4 sound, and that was like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she said, "I just wonder if you'd be interested in doing." She put it this in doing a cartoon. I said, "A cartoon? I'd love to do a cartoon. Everybody wants to do a cartoon."
Yeah.
And I said, "So do I have to?" And again, I'm just a singer all these times.
Sure.
I said, "So do I have to? What do I have to sing, or am I singing?" So she said, "Oh no, there'll be no singing from you with this thing." And she said, I said, "Well, what's it for?" She said, "Well, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. It's called Project X."
Oh.
Oh, how unbelievably apropos.
Yeah.
And I went to the thing, and I said, "So hi," and they're the guys from L.A., New York, writers, directors, producers, and ever were there in Toronto, and I'm in the studio, and I lost, and I said, "So who is he? Who am I doing? What are you?" "Well, Wolverine." I said, "Okay, okay then," and what is he? Said, "Well, he's 5'3", tough as nails, would kill for his best friends and for the people that he loves, to death if necessary." And they ended it with, "And he's cranky." Perfect. And so I didn't. I said, "Who do you hear him sounding like?" And they said, "Well," they all said immediately, almost, "Clint Eastwood."
Yeah.
And I went, "Clint Eastwood, like, well, that's like, go ahead, punk." That kind of.
Yeah.
And I've never heard Clint Eastwood yell a line in any movie. And I was looking at the lines that they gave me, and there's one line I said, "Wow." There's a line here that if like I said to them, I have never heard Clint yell in a movie. He just keeps it contained and the teeth closed.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, what line are you?" I said, "I'm looking at this line," and I'll read, because it was the very first line I read. And they said, "Oh," I said, "So who am I yelling this line at?" And they said, "Oh, Sabretooth." And keep in mind, I know nothing.
Yeah.
We knew,
Right.
none of the Canadians knew who the hell the X-Men were, let alone for me, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Never heard of them in my life.
Right.
Hence, they had to describe them. They showed me a picture, not unlike this one,
Oh,
which
nice.
is classic.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, so," but before they showed that to me, I said, "So, Sabretooth, and I'm Wolverine. Is this an animal cartoon?" Well, I said, and they laughed like that, and I went, "Well, no. I mean, seriously, is it an animal cartoon? Like, Wolverine's a Wolverine,
Yeah.
Northern Canada, and Sabretooth's obviously a saber-toothed tiger." They said, "No," and they were laughing. So they said, "No," and this is by way to clear things up for me. They said, "They're mutants."
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, "What the hell is a mutant?"
Right.
Actually, I used the F word.
You can use it on here if you want.
What the fuck's a mutant?
Yeah.
And so they explained it to me, John, and I went, "Well, okay then." I still wasn't sure what the hell they were. And I said, "So this guy, he doesn't really like Sabretooth." He said, "Oh no, he doesn't like him at a modicum."
Right.
They can't stand each other. Whenever they get together, it's just fight,
Yeah.
period, until one of them just falls down. And they said, "So are you ready?" I said, "I guess so." And I came up with in the back of my head, and I don't know. After I read the line, I realized who I was channeling
Mhm.
or who entered my body at that particular moment for this. And just this is the very first line I read. And their reaction was like instantaneous because it was,
All right, you egg-sucking piece of gutter trash. You always like pushing around people shorter than you. Well, I'm shorter. Try pushing me. Ow!
they just went, oh shit.
Oh man.
Give them some more lines. And I read for the next 15, 20 minutes and they said, thank you so much, Cal. We'll be in touch. And they phoned me the next morning
Wow.
and said, we'd like you to be our Wolverine. I said, I would love to, whoever he is, and whatever the hell kind of animal he is.
Oh man. Now after that, I mean, I mean, they must have sent you, did they send you comic books, any stuff to be like, thank you and like, hey, read? No. Oh my God. That's crazy. I would have been sending.
I went out. My wife actually went out and got 2 X-Men comic
Oh,
books
nice.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so great, dude. I mean, it is one of those things that like, I mean, I'd heard, even leading up to 2000 for the X-Men movie and stuff like that, because I couldn't get enough of that stuff. X-Men were like, Wolverine was always my favorite character when I was a kid. I had all the action figures. I had the classic suit. I used to carry a Wolverine trading card with me that gave his like stats in the back. Like obviously I didn't have sex till much later in my life, but I but I used to have that stuff on me. And then but it was one of those things where like, when the movie came out too, you could still consume enough media. And one of the things that I always wanted to ask you, because I couldn't confirm whether it was a rumor or whether it was true, but I read somewhere that Hugh Jackman actually did like talk to you about like trying to get that. He did. That's true. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
They wanted the two of us to meet he was in town. He was just arrived from Aussie into Toronto, and they wanted the 2 Wolverines. Well, they wanted him to meet the Wolverine before he did his first attempt. So the 2 of us met across from downtown Toronto. Mm-hmm. It's changed the name, and had a wine and cheese party. I can't even imagine 2 Wolverines at a wine and cheese party. Good God.
Right.
So they introduced Cal. This is Hugh Jackman, our new very first live action Wolverine. He's in town. We're starting to shoot this week, and I said, unbelievable, Hugh. Congratulations so much. What a kudo for you. That's amazing. Yeah. And what an opportunity. And congratulations. And he said, thank you very much, mate. Because he said, thank you very much, mate. But I'm sick and tired of listening to your voice. Because they told him in preparation, he said, because the only voice people had in their head, because our series went from 92 to 97.
Yeah.
And then it was gone.
Right.
And just reruns. And they said the only reference for Wolverine is Cal Dodd's voice.
Yeah. And
so if you could just keep that to Hugh, if you could keep that in the back of your head and just kind of watch some of the episodes and listen to the voice, if you could just maybe just keep thinking about that maybe, or, see what you can do. And he said, so that's what he meant when he said, because he listened a lot to the voice. He said, it's a great voice, Mike. But, I'm sick and tired of listening to it.
That's the best. That's the best compliment though, too.
It was very funny. And so we talked for about 2 minutes and he turned around to poor Hugh. He turned around to go away and I let him go about, 5 yards. Mm-hmm. And I said in Wolverine's voice,
hey, Hugh.
And he turned around and said, yeah, mate. I said,
don't fuck this up.
Just the fact of it, he just went like, "Oh, Mike, get out of here."
That's so great. That's so awesome. But it's so you could.
The guy I channeled when I said that when I said the first line,
all right, you egg sucking.
When I finished that, I said, "Holy shit, that sounds a bit like Wolfman Jack."
Remember from yeah,
baby, Wolfman Jack coming at you.
Yeah.
That kind of a vibe to him,
right? That's great. I didn't realize that, but that is totally true. Yeah, that's awesome. And now, so I want to. You were talking about you'd started out as a singer. You were in a band. You'd open for Joe Cocker. That's who it is. But like, so was it hard to kind of give up the touring life and the music? Because like that's embedded. That's something that's embedded in your brain and in your DNA.
I terribly miss the same. I mean, singing, like I said, from the age of 5, we come over from Ireland, Mom and the 3 of us, and Dad had come over 9 months before us. Everybody in the family sang. We were a singing family that ran around to different functions singing Irish songs. And my brother, as a matter of fact, Rory ended up. The two of us went to New York to do a Broadway play called. It ended up being called Rockabye Hamlet, but it was written for me with my voice in mind. Originally, it was called Kronborg 1582, the name of the castle where
Nice.
the thing. And Rory my brother had a job in the beer store back home, a small town on Lake Erie,
Oh,
and I just offered it. They were looking for someone to play Horatio, who happened to be Hamlet's, best buddy and stuff, and who could sing because it's a musical.
Right.
And they said, "We're having trouble finding Horatio." I said, "No, you're not. My brother's not doing anything." So he got hired like that. He
Wow.
goes to Charlottetown, PEI, and Beverly D'Angelo was in the cast.
Oh man.
He played Ophelia.
Wow.
And after I finished the first season in Charlottetown, and Rory was there, he stayed for the second season. That's when I went to New York, did the Cocker thing for change of pace, or something. But I went to work out with Gower Champion in New York for a couple of days on the show, under the premise that I would be doing Hamlet on Broadway.
Right.
But in the back of my head, I knew I wasn't going to be doing it.
Right.
So anyway, Rory stayed, and Rory met also. So Beverly was with him, and Rory met a guy named Meatloaf, who was in the cast. And Meatloaf was playing a priest or a bishop in the Rockabye Hamlet.
Wow.
They hooked up because Rory was a great singer too.
Sure.
And they hooked up, and Jim Steinman got involved, and out of that came Meatloaf, the group. All that wonderful top-selling album.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Rory toured with them. Rory was the backup singer in the whole group. He and Carla DeVito, there was the girl who sang on the record. He toured the world with that group and stayed in New York City for the rest of his showbiz days.
Yeah.
Ended up doing most of Billy Joel's albums, backup stuff on Uptown Girl.
Wow.
He and another dude and a girl. They called the Blendos, but he did all the background on James Taylor's albums. So he's in the studio one night with Steinman, and Steinman says, and it was about, well, it was not about, it was exactly 1:45 in the morning, and Rory did all the demos for Jim that he wrote, that he was writing for Meatloaf, and Rory would do the song so Meat could learn it, and then Meat would yell it. and sell millions of records.
What a great description.
Yeah, and so Rory's there, and he said it's 1:45, and he said, and Rory, Jim called Rory Ice because from Canada. Hey, Ice is his nickname. you do me a favor, just sing a background on this record I'm doing. He said, Jim, it's 1:45 in the morning. I gotta get home. He said, well, no, it'll only take you 15 minutes, I promise. And Rory said, okay, what is it? He said, well, it's this record I'm doing with for Bonnie Tyler. And he said, it's just, just do it. And Rory said, okay. So it took him 15 to 20 minutes. And 9 to 10 months later, I was in my living room at my mom's house in the little town of Port Dover, watching her son, my brother, on stage with Bonnie Tyler. And it opened on Rory. He got to know the crew, smart guy.
Well, yeah.
His theater came back to help
Yeah.
him, and they loved him. He was up 50 steps up at the back, and they started on him, and then they would shoot Bonnie Tyler from behind, and you could see all the crowd in the Grammys.
Oh, wow.
And so Rory's first line, of course, was "Turn around, every now and then I get it. Turn around, right."
Wow, that is fantastic, man.
And that's my little brother that sings.
Oh, I had no idea. That song is epic. It's legendary.
Yeah. Oh, is it ever?
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. Rory Dodd. So anyway, so that's how much music meant to our family.
Yeah.
So doing this Meatloaf, the Wolverine thing was just like totally out of left field.
Sure.
But I just fell right in love with this dude.
Yeah.
Because of the little town I grew up in. It was like a really tough little town. It was the largest inland lake fishing fleet on the planet.
Wow.
Like Lake Erie,
okay,
perch, the whole thing,
yeah,
and fishing tugs, all that stuff, and it was a wonderful little town, but very tough, and there were a lot of fights, and when I knew exactly what he was going to sound like, because I had the guy that I was going to impersonate, who was like a really good friend of mine, was as tough as nails and never ever lost to anyone.
Wow,
and he wasn't that big, it was like 6 foot.
Yeah.
Afraid of nobody. and that's who I echoed this
See,
dude.
but that's cool
And
too because that comes through too. Like that,
yeah,
like you can tell when you're doing the character, it comes from even in those situations in the X-Men comic, and even in the cartoon in the first one, and even in the new iteration in X-Men '97. You can tell when an actor has experience with certain elements or situations in a script or something like that, and it just always seemed like Wolverine knew exactly what he was into, and the guy who's voicing him knows. I've been in similar situations.
yeah,
Maybe not with people with powers, but whatever.
yeah.
And I just got to say, I love Americans' cultural reference of Canada. It just is basically sum up in, oh, it's cold there because he called him ice. You know what I mean? That's it. That's all we got. But that really is. You're like, how's Canada? It seems chilly. Yeah.
Yes, that and 10%ers.
Oh, yeah.
They're 10%ers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
but
ashamed to say I've never been, and I really want to go. There's a band there that a couple guys, Noah and Luke, that I'm friends with. They're in a band called Retrophile in Canada, and they're a
yeah,
great band. I don't know if you ever heard them before, but they're phenomenal. They almost they have a kind of Roxy music kind of vibe to them,
yeah.
but they're great guys. They just did New York for the first time last year, and I was there with them at their concert. But they're always like, when are you going to come to Canada and like do a thing? I don't know why I've never been. I've been doing stand up for 20 years and
Where are you?
I'm
Where are you?
in LBI, New Jersey.
Oh,
Not to
shit.
brag, New Jersey,
No,
but
that's like an hour away.
yeah. I know it's not bad. I could.
No,
You would think I would have made it to Canada on like a drunken bet, but no. Like
yeah,
I just never. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, though. But like, yeah, no. I've lived in New Jersey for most of my life, so it's just
oh
crazy.
wow.
I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna do it. I know there's like yucks and stuff like that are still, and
Yeah.
I've like
Have you not done yucks? So obviously you haven't been to
never
Toronto.
done yuck. I want to just because of the cultural significance in the stand up community. Like
Yeah,
yucks is like everybody made it through
yeah.
yuck. So it's just one
Well,
of those.
one of my great friends, and we would commiserate together and just talk about how we were how there is no industry for entertainers in Canada
Right.
whatsoever. And it was God bless him, John Candy, and we would hang out. We would
Oh my God.
drink beers and tell lies. And turn into every time we went into this bar, I would be someone else, and he would turn in. We would pretend we were other people.
Oh my
And
God.
he was such a gem,
Jesus.
and such just a sweetheart. And we would complain like, see, Steve was with Second City,
Yeah.
and I had a TV show I forgot to mention that I did from uh, 78 to 83, 5 years. Leslie Nielsen did the pilot with us.
Oh wow.
It was called Circus. It was syndicated
Oh,
worldwide,
I gotta
and
look that up.
it was basically a Donnie and Marie rip off, like a takeoff. We were
Right.
the hosts, myself and this girl, Charisse, Cal Dodd and Charisse Lawrence, and it was called Circus.
Okay.
And they were the best circus acts in the world.
Hmm.
Like every animal you could imagine, filmed in Toronto in a studio, and we had 6 dancers, and we did production numbers. Hence the singing again from me
Right.
and her. And it was first of all it was a half hour, then it became an hour show.
Hmm.
And Billy Van, he was a great comedian here as well
Oh,
for years. Did the Sonny and Show share years ago,
sweet.
and he's since left the planet as well. But that I did that a TV show,
Nice.
and I forget now where I was going with this.
Oh, you're saying John Candy, and you guys just commiserate and
Oh
hang
yeah.
out.
So I was complaining about every year we would have to renegotiate our contract, and Circus was a very popular show, and God knows Second City was just like stupid popular.
Yep.
And they were both of us were being ridiculously underpaid. He said, "I think I'm gonna have to leave. I'm gonna have to leave." So
Right.
thanks to John, he gave us more of his life and those wonderful movies he made
Yep.
when he went to the United States.
Oh,
And he was just a gem.
that makes me so happy. One, that you were friends and that close with John Candy, and that you like, because John Candy. I mean, like I have a couple books of his. Not that he wrote, but like autobiographies. Because you try to get everything, any kind of piece of information you can to somebody that was that awesome and had that much of a cultural impact on the entertainment community, and not only that, but like on our lives as kids. I'm just trying to glean any kind of John Candy story, you know what I mean, or like any kind of,
He was just a sweetheart. I mean, he was this funny he was just constantly funny.
That's so good to hear.
A gem.
Yeah. Did you see the Steve Martin documentary, the new one that's on Apple?
No, I've seen bits of it. It's on Apple, did
Yeah,
you
it's on
say?
Apple. It's in two
Oh,
parts. If you've read his book, Born Standing Up, which is probably one of the best books about stand-up comedy like I've ever read. And I'm such a comedy nerd when I was younger because that's all I wanted to be. I was just like, picking everything up I could. But that's a great book. But in the documentary, he talks about planes, trains, and automobiles, which is one of my favorite, John Candy. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You ever see that one?
yeah, who got
Oh yeah.
yes.
So
Yeah.
like that's one of my favorite. But Steve Martin had talked about this part of the script that got cut out. And he said John Candy's got this long monologue at the very end where he talks about like he goes through his life and basically says like what happened to him. And Steve Martin starts to choke up in the documentary because he's like, it was such a cool moment too, because one, I never knew that existed. And he's just, he had the original script in hand. He said, John went through the whole thing. And he goes, and I'm on the other side of the camera weeping because it's just he was so good. So it's a really cool moment in that whole thing.
My
But
God.
yeah. So did you have like you said, your family, your entire family was singing family. You guys all did that kind of thing. But was there something you saw when you were younger that made you go, this is exactly who I want to be and what I want to do entertainment wise? You know what I mean? Like, because everybody's got that cultural moment. A lot of people are always like, musicians I've had on, I can't tell you how many have been like the Beatles, it's so crazy that thing. But then there's like comedians, you would see somebody on Ed Sullivan, but what was the thing for you that made you go, I'm just going to do entertainment for the rest of my life?
Yeah, I sort of knew that. And I was very young. Well, like I said, I was literally singing at weddings and funerals at the age of 6.
Yeah.
Like in Latin.
Wow.
And stuff. So, but when I saw Elvis Presley in his movies and stuff, I would not miss one of those movies because I just, that's it. I am going to be doing that one of these days. I want to be singing with people,
right.
That. And of course, well, the Beatles was just ridiculous when that happened. So
yeah.
Harmony, finally.
Right.
This is great. Our family been doing it all our lives. Like literally, we were all in 3 to 4 part harmony. Rory, Fiona, 1 girl and 4 boys, 3 boys.
Wow.
So singing was huge, and I would say Elvis Presley would be that moment where like, and I would dream, I'd say, yeah, I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah.
And I would never miss one of his movies.
Wow.
As hokey as they were.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen those movies because my parents, I've also watched that kind of stuff just with them or whatever. But then like, Shelley Fabre has been on the show too, and she talked a little bit about that kind of Elvis thing or whatever. So it's such a cool time. Like, I don't know. It is. It's one of those things that like, I don't know if I just, because of the way I grew up and my parents just influencing me music wise. And then like, I watched every old movie. Like I've got a bunch of references that no one gives a shit about in my head. Like, but it is, I don't know if I look back on it in a nostalgic way. Like, I don't know if you can really enjoy the time not that I'm not enjoying the time I'm living through, but you know what I mean? Like I'm getting to that point where like, I'm going to be 40 in November, which sucks. So like, but do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh
yeah. If you tell people now, like the kids, my nephews, when I tell them, well, they were afraid they couldn't film Elvis Presley from below his waist. Why? What do you mean?
Right.
Did he have something wrong with his waist or like below that? No. He was dancing and doing stuff with his hips.
Yeah, exactly.
His hips.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That is wow.
I know, it's just so crazy. It's so fucking crazy. And the acting thing too, man. So you had that show because like you've had so many moments in your life. Your life is involved and engulfed in just the entertainment industry. But so I mean, it was probably easier for you at the time to tell your parents that was your career you were going into, and that was kind of that. But did you have a moment where you were like, okay, I've made it. I'm secure. This is probably this is it for me. You know what I mean? Did you have I imagine you had a couple of those, but like, do you remember the first one or what you felt like?
The first one, and when I look back on it now, I just thought, I have made it. This is unbelievable. When I came to Toronto, because my father did not want me may he rest in peace. He did not want me to be doing anything like that. First of all, I wanted to go to university and be a phys ed teacher.
Oh, wow.
And I was like 17 out of grade 13. And I wanted to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Dad said, not only are you not going to this is the Irish mentality. Not only are you not going to bloody Ann Arbor, Michigan, we can't afford any of you kids to go to university whatsoever because my little brother was born blind and deaf from birth, Sean,
Oh wow.
the youngest one of us, and he cost the family a fortune to feed him. God bless him. And anyway, um, so he said, "You will be a chartered accountant." I said, "Oh,
Wow.
okay." Loving music never has left my heart at all.
Right.
And this may sound, it wasn't cruel at all, but he died, and I was in the chartered accountant's office. I went to the hospital, and Mom was there, and we stayed there. And they came out and said, "Your father's dead, Don." And I said, "And I'm leaving." I said, "I'm going to Toronto.
Wow.
I'm getting out of the CA course, because I was on a course to be CA."
Wow. Holy shit.
Queen's University, and I went right. We got a guitar player, my sister's boyfriend at that time. We went to Toronto, went to the studio, an agent. Mama conveniently knew where she was, and went to this woman's office, and she's across the street from the CBC radio, where Ian Thomas, Dave Thomas's brother from Second City, and Ian and I. That's where Ian and I met before Ian recorded any of his first albums, and he was a tremendous art talent. And she phoned. I sang a couple of songs for this woman, and she said, "Hold on a minute." She got on the phoned right across the street to the CBC, and she said, "I'm sending this kid over." And he said, "You have to listen to him sing." And she said, "Wait till you hear his name." It's and I'm going, what the hell? What's she talking about? She said, "His name's Cal Dodd." And I went, "What?" And she said, "What the fuck's wrong with that?" No, she said,
Yeah.
"It sounds like a stage name already." She said,
Oh.
"It sounds like a," and that's a long story too. My real name is Cathal, Cathal, which is Gaelic for Charles.
Oh.
Because in Ireland, when we came to Canada, they were calling me Cattle because they couldn't pronounce it, and then they were starting to moo behind me. Kids, and I said, "Mom, I'm 6 years of age. For God's sake,
Yeah.
Mom, they're mooing behind me and calling me Cattle." Oh God. Anyway, so that's what started me, and I came to Toronto, and for a year lived on, and this is true, grilled cheese sandwiches, and Mom would send me money.
Oh.
And I was on unemployment insurance, got a job in Simpson Sears selling guitars and pianos and stuff.
Wow.
And for until I lost that job, and then I started looking to get into studios to see how I want them to hear me sing, because I'm hearing commercials all the time
Right.
on radio and TV. I kept bugging them, and finally the guy said, "Look, here, yeah, come in." And I was working with Ian Thomas, and he was doing a disc for CBC Radio.
Right.
He was producing it. He went to this person who was doing the strings, this gentleman, Ben McPeak, and he said, "Who's that singing on this?" And he said, "It's just a kid. I'm producing his first record," because I was just a kid.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh shit!" He said, "I want to meet him." So that was the beginning. He was like the top jingle writer in Toronto at that time. And he's got me in the studio that very day, and I sang my first Chevy Cortina commercial.
Holy
and
shit.
When I heard it on the radio, it was like, "That's me!" Like, it was like, "Mom, that's me!" Like,
Right.
moments.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy that had the Ray Conniff Singers, but they were in Canada. They were called the Laurie Bauer Singers, and he asked me to be one of his singers. And I said, "Mom," because Mom used to listen to him on the radio all the time in our kitchen. I said, "I'm one of the Laurie Bauer Singers." She said, "Jesus, Mary and Joseph, God bless you." She said, "You've made it. You've made it."
Holy shit. Are you, I wonder if you're on my mom had an old cassette of the Ray Conniff Singers. I mean, as soon as you said Ray Conniff Singers or the Laurie Bauer Singers, immediately my head started playing, and I just imagined Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's like the signature thing.
Oh, it was schmaltzy, like just clean, crisp music.
Wow.
with 3 guys, 3 girls, 3 girls, 3 guys, and you double it and triple it, and make it sound like 25 people.
Sure. Now,
that kind of stuff.
what was the steps for you as far as like, because I mean, like, you had a series, you were singing, you were doing all that kind of stuff. Did you have a plan at all? Like, did you have a thing of like, I'm going to do this, and that's going to get me to this? No, you didn't have any kind of. That's crazy though, to just go out there and wing it.
No, because it started, John. It just happened. It was like people were just coming up and saying, "We want you to be. Can you do this?"
Yeah.
Yes. Because I was a really good singer.
Yeah.
And didn't have any false, not a stuck up person or anything like that. It was just, I'm so happy to be doing what I loved, and they're paying me ridiculous amounts of money.
Yep.
It was just like I've made it, Mom. I don't know what else can. And then I get that they offered me the TV show, and I'm like, oh no, the very first TV thing I got, and this is very early on too, like right after I did that record with Ian Thomas for just to be played on CBC Radio, the CBC TV were holding the 20th anniversary of the CBC television station.
Mhm.
So they had Robert Goulet, Lorne Green, all the Canadians that started at CBC.
Wow.
And I was the very last person on the show. And I was this kid at the very end. And I sang a song that Paul Williams wrote. That's what friends are for.
Oh, nice. I love Paul
No,
Williams.
not that one. Not that. Not there's another one called
Oh.
this is BJ Thomas recorded it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's a really great lyric and stuff.
Sweet.
And so that was me, and they put under my name, but the name spelled properly, Cathal.
Wow.
Cathal Dodd, 1973.
Holy shit. Oh my God, that's awesome. That is so fucking cool, dude.
And so I did Mr. Dress Up and the Tommy Hunter show. They gave me like 5 TV shows and stuff.
Wow.
And then I got my own TV show, and it just went on from there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's incredible. Do you have a favorite type? Because I've seen you on, YouTube doing pitch perfect Sinatra. You know what I mean? Like just like that. I've seen you doing that. But then I've also seen you do like Les Mis, operatic stuff. Do you have a style of singing that you prefer to be doing, that you like to do? Because it seems like you can do a little bit of everything.
Oh, I have. And I did an Academy Actor Award for doing Al Jolson, the Al Jolson story.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because I do a great Al Jolson.
Oh, nice.
I love anything that Tony Bennett did.
Oh, nice.
I was never a big Frank fan
Right.
at all. My mom liked him and stuff, but she didn't really get him either.
Mm-hmm.
But I sing with a big band semi-regularly here in Toronto because I just like the sound of a big band, 18-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
And Bobby Darin stuff. I love Bobby Darin stuff.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. And I love like top 40.
Oh, yeah.
Anything. Like I said, like Joe Cocker, I'll do any of his stuff. Like Joe was such a gem too.
Did you guys get to hang out much?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh,
We toured.
awesome.
Joe would not fly, so we started in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
And he would not fly, and we went across Canada by bus.
Oh wow, that's a trip.
Oh, I'll say.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I like to hear that those guys, because like I sometimes you tour with people and they're very insular, and that's just their process or whatever. So you're like, you get on a thing with somebody and you're just like, fuck, this is gonna be a long 6 weeks, like or whatever. But that's cool that you guys actually got to hang out. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Joe celebrated, I think it was his 30th birthday, and I thought, my God, he's got to be more than that. He looks 40, but back when we were so young.
Oh,
and he got up we went to a bar after the concert, like we needed to have more beer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets up on stage, and we were 3 singers in this group that were actually replacing Three Dog Night.
Oh,
remember Three Dog Night?
I love Three Dog Night. Great.
Jimmy Einer was our producer, and they were actually, what they were doing was replacing Three Dog because they folded Three Dog.
Okay.
And their record label, Capitol, was making a lot of money off Three Dog, so they thought we'd put a brand new Three Dog together. Anyway, that was the story. So there were 3 of us singers in the group that we toured with Joe with. Joe was with his own band called Stuff, which are the most amazing musicians I have ever heard in my life. And Joe gets up on stage at this, there's a horn band playing in a local dance hall.
Yeah.
Like a big dance hall. But like they heard that Joe Cocker was in the crowd, and he gets up there and he's half pissed, for usual. And he gets up there, and he would always rip his t-shirt.
Yeah.
And he had shirt on, and I'm up standing beside him. And he starts taking his t-shirt off because he doesn't know where he is. He's forgotten where he's at. Mm-hmm. And he's singing, "Came in through the bathroom window" or something, came in through the bathroom window. And I said, Joe, no, it's not a concert. We're just here. Because he's so looped. I said, "Don't take your shirt off, or your t-shirt off." And he looked to me, turned and said, "Who the fuck are you?" "Who the fuck are you?" And I went, "Oh, never mind, Joe. Just do what you want." So and that night ended. We went into his bedroom, and he had a lady that was with him that helped. Her only job on the tour was to push him on stage to get on. Their nickname was Green Teeth.
Oh my God.
Green Teeth. So she's looking after him there, and he's like sort of lying back in his bed.
Mhm.
If us three singers are in there, and he's got bottles of booze everywhere. And he said, "Help yourself to whatever you want and get," because that was the last night of the tour. He said, "Help yourself, Cal, whatever you want."
Right.
So I reach up, and he's like, I thought he was, because he kept closing his eyes. And I went up and grabbed a bottle of tequila, and he just sprang right up, and he said, "Except for the tequila." He was just a gem.
Oh my God, that's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
great. Did he ever really understand the impact of that? I don't know, maybe nobody did at Woodstock, but I mean like that, his performance at Woodstock is
Oh.
iconic. Did he know that at the time? Did he feel it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But he was so angry at the recording companies, and because he got totally ripped off his entire career.
Oh, that sucks.
It was really sad.
That fucking blows. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
one of those things where like you have a hard time imagining how stuff got around without social media, which is so sad because I grew up without it, but now it's you're like, I feel like sometimes those are dumb questions that I ask when I have guests on without it, but I'm like, hey, did you guys catch did you hear anything? Was it just newspaper? Like who called, whatever. And they're like, we had phones. We did see people on the street. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I mean, that must've been nice. Yeah, I know it's just a weird thing how much it's taken over our lives.
I don't know how they got on with it without social media.
I know.
Like,
It's
I
crazy.
mean, we wouldn't be doing this, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'll tell you what I could do without though. I could do without them showing me pictures of the memes that are going around right now of like, hey, this is how old the Cheers cast actually was back then, and it's like, you're like, or like Golden Girls. They were like, B. Arthur was in her 30s, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. There's no way.
Oh Christ.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy.
Oh man.
So now with congrats on the Emmy nomination, by the way, which is fucking awesome. Like, I don't know if you it was a creative arts Emmy you guys got nominated for
which?
for X-Men 97.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the X-Men, for the new series and stuff. Do you with the new stuff that's coming in or whatever, are you because I imagine you have to be at some point an integral part of the script. Are they sending you stuff ahead of time? And do you get to weigh in, or do you just kind of, because it's your character at this point, you know what I mean? Like this is, so do you get to kind of tell them I don't know if he'd say this,
Well, no, I have said that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I said I won't say that.
Oh,
because the new stuff, my heart is still with the original series.
Yes.
But this stuff, as soon as I saw the animation, I went, "Oh my God!
Oh yeah.
This is another dimension altogether."
Right.
Wow, it was just a knockout thing. It's like, wow,
beautiful. And deeper storylines, I think, too, because I mean, you were on Fox Kids back in the day, but even those themes from the show that ran to 97 were heavy, for a kid show. But I think that was necessary. I think that was good. You know what I mean? Like, I remember watching it, I don't know. I think when you're watching that kind of stuff as a kid, you interpret emotions in a different way. You can see it through your favorite characters. So those themes come through, and I think they help you grow. And then now, even with this one, it's way deeper.
Yeah, I tell a lot more of every panel that I do, and the fans, when they're asking if they care,
Mm-hmm.
and they say they do, is that I really am very protective of Wolverine.
Right.
Having lost him after 5 years,
Yeah.
it's just like cutting off my right arm. It's like, what do you mean? That's it?
Yeah,
that's it. After back then it was like 5 years for an animated series, and then they would move on.
Right.
I said, okay, all right then. Who might have? I don't know. And finally, thankfully, Disney picked the thing up, and away we go again.
Yeah.
But I've listened, of course, to the old series, and I just can't stop laughing at Wolverine's lines and stuff, because he had the funniest lines, and half the time you didn't know he was being funny.
Right.
I love this line that because like I say, I'm being reminded as I watch the thing, and he's peeking through a door at the Hellfire Club, probably, and he looks through and you can see these guys with
Mhm.
white wigs like a judge would wear,
Right.
and like pigtails coming out of the back, and red jackets and white pants. It looked like the outfit I had to wear on the TV show Circus, like a ringmaster with these guys. But then they were carrying around nunchucks and stuff. And Wolverine's just at the door by himself, and he's just talking out loud, and he just says,
Where do these folks do their... No, no.
he said,
Where do these guys do their shopping? Somebody pick me up from this nightmare, because I gotta be dreaming.
where do these guys do their shopping?
Yeah,
Somebody
that's a great line.
wake me up from this nightmare because I gotta be dreaming.
Yep.
And so I listened to what key, because I'm a singer, what key Wolverine was in for for the 5 years.
Yeah.
And I surprised myself even. I was surprised at how not as low as I thought I was.
Mhm.
It wasn't as low as I thought I was.
Yeah.
So, and I kept that. So when I went in for my first episode, God bless her, our voice director, I read my first line, and she said, because I knew where exactly, he said,
I know where his voice is.
and he said, could you just, Cal, could you just try that again? Would you try it a little bit lower?
Oh.
And I said,
He does not go lower
Right.
than that.
Nice.
This is where he sits, right here.
Right.
oh, okay then.
That is insane to me that they would try to like, first of all, the fact that, like, you've been able to maintain your voice, because that's a hard thing. That's something I talk to musicians about all the time too, is like taking care of your voice as you keep going on and on and on. Some people, like, you think of like Dio, you know what I mean? That guy, up until the point where he passed away, could still fucking sing like Dio.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But then there's other guys who were back then in those kind of heavy metal or hair bands or whatever it was, who they admittedly said, man, I fucking wrecked my voice. I didn't take care of it like he did. But for somebody to come to you and go, can you like, no, like, I could still, are you kidding me? I've taken care of like, this is who he sounds like.
But it must have been because he looked so much bigger in the X-Men, in the Disney 97.
Right.
Disney. And he did. He scared me when I first saw him. I was like, holy shit, man, you're big.
Yeah.
It was like just weird.
I know what you mean.
But I was half joking, and I said, no, I can't.
Yeah.
This is where we talk, right here.
It's one of the ones that this is another Wolverine line from the original series that I absolutely love because it's hilarious. But it's one my friends without kids, like, there's a few of us left who've held out. We haven't had any kids. We'll pass this little thing around every now and again. But it's one when you guys are fighting the Brotherhood, and Wolverine saves a kid from like a building or a bus being collapsed on her, and she starts to cry, and he hands her off to Jubilee, and he just goes, "Here, she's crying. Do something with her." And like, all of us are like, that's how we are around kids right now. Yeah, no, that's as soon as they start crying, we're like, no, I don't know what to do. Yes. Such a great line.
Oh, I know.
It's so great. Now
it was a piece of work.
Yeah. And what's cool is too, is like, from the comic books as a fan, I know that Nightcrawler in the comic books is really one of his best friends. I mean, Wolverine has an assortment of best friends, throughout the thing, but it looks like they finally got to play around with that more, which is just hilarious. That was one of the best fucking scenes, man. Like, like when that happened, I remember a couple of my friends and I who, again, we'd get together like on these things and kind of watch it in real time, like, or whatever. When that came on, we were like, just the entire time, like, this is fucking, it's so cool. And to see him kind of stab people is great.
And that's so odd because that was one of my 3 favorite episodes in the original 5 years. And and that Nightcrawler episode was definitely number 1.
Beautiful. Yeah. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. I love that episode.
Yeah.
And Cold Vengeance, where he goes up to the Arctic. Good. And meets Sabretooth again.
Yeah.
There's no peace for me here.
Yep.
And
that guy who did Sabretooth's voice, I don't know who he is, but that's another iconic. They're gonna have. I think they're gonna have a hard time replacing because he passed, right?
Yes, Don Franks.
Yeah, great voice, great playing off of you and stuff with the whole thing. I don't know how they're gonna wind up doing that, or if they're gonna wind up using Sabretooth again. But
I don't know.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. But yeah, those are great. I mean, the Nightcrawler episode in the original was a great episode too, and also again seeing another side of Wolverine playing that character to lot of dimensions to him. So it was so
And,
cool.
and another one that I like doing because it showed it was Wolverine before he had any adamantium or had went through that process at all, and it was called Old Soldiers.
Oh,
And when he was in France during World War II,
yeah,
and he meets Captain America for the first time.
right. That's a great
This-
one.
but I couldn't get over it. It's because he's the toughest dude I know, like the toughest X-Men.
Yeah.
And he's all he can talk about through this entire episode. When Captain America finally shows up, is the material that his suit's made of. And he will not let it lie either.
Right.
He keeps picking it back up. And I started laughing through the episode again because I got to do that thing like Bogart would do in a movie, like was watching myself walking along the thing. Here he comes, 25. And so Wolverine's lines were like, Uncle Adolph's goose steppers had the place sealed.
Yeah.
And he's just walking. And he's got a toque on, a black, and he's dressed in black.
Right.
Jumping on roofs and stuff, and helping a kid who's got stealing a loaf of bread or something.
Oh,
and he's
yeah,
yelling at the Nazis, and that's when Captain America shows up, and Wolverine looks and says, "I never would have guessed it. I couldn't believe it, Mr. USA." Rubber suit and all. Captain America says to him, "I like your style." And Wolverine says, "I wish I could say the same." and where'd you get that monkey suit anyway? Fatigues would have been a lot less obvious.
Yeah.
And then so they're climbing up this. I love the writing in this, John. So they're climbing up a cliff, and he's been given these like little claw things.
Oh,
like
yeah.
this,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but they're only this big.
Right.
And they're going up the cliff, the two of them, and Wolverine's still not finished with it. I couldn't believe it. He's going on with it again. What does he say? He says, "Oh, you wouldn't catch me." He looks over at Captain America as they're going up. He says, "You wouldn't catch me wearing something like that." It's got it. I love this after the addendum. It's got to itch. I'm going,
Crazy.
What are you saying?
Classic.
Stop
Yeah.
that talk. And then they get up to the top, and Wolverine hands these things on his hand back to him, Captain America, and he says, "Wow, these things could come in handy."
I got to rewatch that episode. That's
Oh,
great.
yeah. Like talk about dee. They're going to come in real handy for you.
Yeah. Foreshadowing. Just a smidge. Yeah.
I love that episode.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you get to catch Deadpool and Wolverine yet?
Yes.
Oh.
We were in Hollywood, and they had bought our tickets for us to go see it. But we had a nightmare trip trying to get from and God bless Bill, your Bill Normal.
Yeah.
He was pleasantly persistent.
That's Bill.
We had 8 weeks in a row
Ooh.
of back to back, different one every weekend, Comic-Cons.
Wow.
And one we had to get from Austin to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And we only had one day at home to do laundry and put it back in the thing. But so that one day was gone because our flight in Austin was delayed 5 times. And finally, we were there at 8:30 in the morning. Finally, at 8:30 at night, they said, "Your flight's canceled."
Oh, my God.
So we had to go to
Brutal.
find out. They found us a hotel, and we stayed there and got up at 5:30 the next morning, flew home to Toronto, got into the cab, drove to my house, which takes a half an hour.
Oh, my God.
Then did a load of laundry and now packed for a 5-day trip to San Diego and Disney and that whole thing,
Oh, my God.
vis-a-vis the series, and right back to the airport same day, and then get on the plane, and it was nonsense. So poor Bill. I'm just like, I'm sorry, Bill. I can't even fart right now. Actually, I am just so tired.
Yeah.
And when we got there, they had the tickets to go see Deadpool. It was at the premiere. It must have been August 26th or something like that, or
Yeah, I think it
August 24th or 26th.
something like
Was
that. Yep.
Remember? I don't know. Anyway, so I said, "Oh no," and it didn't start until 10:45.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "PM." I said, "No. I will be in bed in another an hour from now," which is like it was 7:00 when we got there finally. But no, I'm not going to any movie.
Yeah.
I kicked myself, but they didn't get home till 1 a.m.
Holy shit.
We had to call them the next day. So
Yeah, you would have
and
been.
I saw it last week. I finally saw it last week.
Nice. Do you like it?
Yeah.
You know, it would
It's
be great
different.
if at the end of that you were like, didn't care for it. You know what? After all that, not my thing.
Yeah, it wasn't my piece of cake.
Yeah. What can I tell you? You know, I have high standards. Yeah, no, I thought it's great that that they keep doing it, and if they're going to bring the characters back, they're doing it better. I'm so psyched for whatever Marvel has in store, because you know what the craziest thing is now? You guys did X-Men 97 so well. I'm like, I don't know how they're going to top that when they finally incorporate it into the MCU, into the movies, into the live action stuff. I'm just like, if they're not doing this story shit, like this level of like comic book story, I don't know what they're gonna have a hard time.
And that's so funny you say that, John, because when I first saw when we went to the premiere of the X-Men 97, and we were in Hollywood, in the biggest theater in Hollywood, they told us.
Mm-hmm.
And they were 1,000 fans there, and 8 of us at the original cast and stuff.
Wow.
There in the audience for this premiere. We hadn't seen it either. They were premiering the first 2 episodes. Well, when I saw it, it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is like a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where this is going,
right.
I'm thinking. And that scene with the, because Wolverine said 2 things to Gambit all his life, and that was, back off, Cajun.
Yeah.
Or out of the way, Gumbo. And that's all he would ever say, because he was always underfoot.
Sure.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So when I saw the scene in episode 2, or maybe it was even 1, where Wolverine's running and he's got his claws up like this,
mm-hmm.
and Gambit is charging his claws with the cars.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful scene. It's all lit up.
Right.
He's lighting up Wolverine's claws, and the 2 of them are running together. He's on his back.
Yeah.
He's on Wolverine's back, lighting up the claws. The whole place went ape shit.
Nice.
Like the kids were screaming and like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. Gambit and Wolverine working together.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And that scene you were talking about with Sabretooth.
Nightcrawler?
Yes, Nightcrawler. They went berserk when they saw that.
Yeah.
Finally, the 2 of them together and happening.
Such a great combo. I really hope they play out that friendship, because in the comic books, I don't know if you like, I think it was mostly in the 80s, those when it was him, Colossus, and Nightcrawler were like inseparable in the comics. That span, I don't remember who wrote it, and it's my fault. I wish I did. But the playing off of Canadian, Russian, and German characters or whatever, but them all kind of knocking each other and fucking around and doing that kind of shit. Beautiful trio, man. It's a great, like, just the writing and everything, like just and personalities too, because Nightcrawler is a holy man, and and Wolverine's Wolverine. So like it's just a great, it's a great combo, man. They're really close, and it's a cool thing to see. So a couple more questions, and then
I would have thought that this is what I thunk.
Yeah.
That I should have had a cameo. Should be done a cameo in that thing. Because they threatened it once to have me as a bartender and have Jackman walk up to the bar, say, "What do you want, punk?" me to him.
That would have been. You need to be. I'm going to petition for this. I'll have Biden sign it. You need to be the new Stanley MCU cameo thing. I want to see Cal Dodd every movie, every MCU movie. You're just the MCU bartender.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
Okay, you have 2 more questions?
I have a couple. No, there's the 3, but the one question I wanted to ask you is, do you prefer when you're working and doing voiceover to have everybody else in the room with you, or do you like doing it solo and then submitting it?
I loved when we first started off. It was for about 4 episodes, 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
We were all in there together, and it was a lot of fun. Sometimes we didn't get a lot done. But it was a nightmare for the engineers.
Sure,
because he said you're leaking into, and they put baffles out there and stuff. But because half the time if I'm growling or screaming or something, leaking into the next person's microphone, and it was weird acting in the scene because if it was back and forth, you had to wait 2 seconds before you could react to something. So it said, "Fuck you." Well, fuck you too. So we finally, and after 5 episodes, he just said, "It's not work." I have to. It's in post. It was a nightmare trying to get rid of the noise and stuff.
Sure.
So we would just go in one at a time.
Nice.
And I prefer that now.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was fun when it happened, and it was a lot of jokes and trying to screw the other person up.
Sure. Yeah. And
forget lines.
For the second season of the show, because we didn't get to see what happened to Wolverine at the end. Do you know, like, what's going to happen to him in the second season, where he wound up? Because everybody disappeared, and he was lying on that table. That's the last we saw of him. But you saw where Professor X went. Do you know where Wolverine winds up?
I haven't seen him.
What a great that's good. All right.
I haven't seen him. I don't know.
So I'm going to ask you the last 3 questions that I ask every guest on the show. The first one's a little bit of a softball question, but if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Don't drink as much.
Oh, solid.
No.
Solid advice.
Geez, I don't know. I love the mistakes that I made because that's the only way you learn.
Great, that's great too, man.
Not really, because it's just like Eric said, Eric Lewald was a showrunner, and he just said it just all seemed to fall into place. And because we all turned out to be theater actors, we had theater shows or TV shows.
Yeah.
Before, it wasn't just voiceovers, a voice guy coming in to we were actors and stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Theater, and he just said it just seemed to just happen, and even the characters like Norm, God bless him, our Cyclops.
Yeah.
Everyone looked like, especially Beast too.
Yeah, George.
Everyone looked like the character.
Yeah.
Like George Booz is like a double for Beast. It's crazy,
dude. Whenever you're wearing your leather, I'm just like, that's Wolverine. Like that's, you know what I mean? Even it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, I don't wear this is what you see in this.
That's the best fucking jacket ever.
I know.
Yeah, incredible. Oh, so awesome, dude. That is fantastic. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful jacket, man. And
there's a great story that Norm got. He would be right beside me when we were recording, and we always talked in character, even when we were finished recording. And we got the chance to get the jackets, and you had a choice. You could get Wolverine yellow, or X-Men blue. This would be a blue leather, right? So Norm, of course, and I said, "What color are you getting, psych?" And he'd say, "Well, it won't be Wolverine yellow. You can be assured of that." Trying to do his best head night. Well, it won't be Wolverine yellow. So he would refuse to wear his jacket, so I wore mine. But what he didn't know was on the back of everyone's jacket was Wolverine.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Regardless of what color you got. So of course he orders the X-Men blue, and he comes to the studio finally wearing it. And he walked in. They said, "Nice jacket. Who's on the back of your jacket?" Psych. And he said, "I don't know. I didn't look." No, I didn't look. I said, "You're a liar. You know."
That's
and I turned,
great.
"That's on the back of your jacket. So give it up."
Amazing. Oh, that's a great story.
Yes.
Second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
I think that my mom's life, I think.
Wow.
She was such a power, strength, and my guide and my teacher all through, gave me this voice.
Mm-hmm.
She was a beautiful singer. And everything is sort of done for her, to hoping I'm making her happy. And I know that she would be happier than a pig and shit, because she was the one, like I said, that got me that first audition. Here, go to this person right now. Right after my dad died, go to this lady. I've been looking for someone.
Right.
Go to her. She's an agent, and you go there and follow your heart.
Wow, that's beautiful, dude.
Yeah. So she died in my arms, at the age of 78.
Wow.
Of Alzheimer's, which I hate that fucking disease.
Yeah.
And this is all for her. And I hope I talk to her every night.
Oh, beautiful, dude. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but that's what had to end. And it was that her life.
Thanks for sharing that, man. I appreciate that. Sometimes people just kind of.
But I mean, she was the strongest force and just a wonderful lady.
Totally get that, man. I mean, my mom's one of those people. I know she's been through so much in her life, and it's just. I mean, she doesn't. I should tell her more. I think probably. And I've told her, throughout the years or whatever, but it is one of those things where you're like, you hear somebody say something like that and you're like, I should probably, call or say something, but it is true. Like, I know she's been through so much, and she's always been, a huge support person and, very, very kind and stuff. So it's always been, it's nice to hear that. Yeah. So the last question ties into the theme of the show. Show's called Dystopia Tonight. And if you woke up tomorrow and you found out, last day on Earth for everybody, you got 24 hours left, what do you think would be the cause? It could be anything you want, but is it going to be political collapse, climate change, meteor headed toward Earth, aliens or zombies or whatever? And what's going to be your epic death? How are you going to go out?
What's going to be my epic what?
Death. How are you going to go out?
Oh, I'm sure I'll go out with a bang.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably really, really cranky. To bring us back to square one, bub.
Fucking awesome, dude. Dude, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate your time and everything you do.
Waiting for me.
Oh,
to finally get it together.
Oh man, absolutely, my pleasure, dude. You're phenomenal.
It's been worth every minute tonight. You're a gem.
Thank you so much, dude. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Dystopia Tonight.